And it was never a racial thing either.
No, people just want their money.
Yeah, I mean, guys get mad, they don't get paid, they're stabbing you. Because, they can't let guys not pay, because then the next guy don't want to pay, and next guy don't want to pay. Yeah.
But it's happening over and over and over again. I don't know what people just don't learn or what.
Well, them guys that like to stab people, they like to have a reason, Gives them a reason to go out and poke a hole in somebody. They kind of enjoy it, some of them guys, I think.
Yeah.
So that's another thing, like the drug addict type mentality.
Yeah.
How did that, how did you see that? Being a guy that's not really a dope fiend,
Yeah. Prior to getting busted, my thing was drinking. I like to drink, man. Being half Irish, half German, I took the alcohol like a fish to water, So my big thing was drinking. I dabbled in other things, smoking pot, did some coke, but just pounding beers was my thing. But when I'd been sober probably, a good year and a half before I even got busted, because I went down that road of sobriety. And so when I got locked up, I knew everything was there. I mean, everything, on the streets is in prison. Every drug you can think of is there, including the pruno or the alcohol.
Right.
But at that time, I was more focused on staying sober, because I had heard stories about drug deaths and people getting cut and poked and bad things happen to them. And I'm grateful. I'm thankful that in the entire 16 years that I was locked up, I never smoked any pot, never did any drugs, never drank any alcohol. I think I smoked 2 cigarettes my whole time I was there.
Yeah.
In the 16 years. So sobriety was a big thing for me, because I knew it could lead to down a road that a lot of guys bad things happen to them. I didn't want that to happen.
Right. So how was it like living around all them guys that were always in debt, always using drugs, always?
Well, yeah, it's always one or two guys. Actually, Mitch, that it's always one or two guys that are fucking the program up for everybody else because they can't pay their debts. It's the majority. Most people in prison who are using are paying their bills. You know what I mean? There's a few who don't, obviously, and an outcome is they get dealt with. But yeah, I always celled up with people that didn't use, didn't smoke, and again, we're trying to do a clean and sober program.
Right.
That's who I was. That's what my program was like.
Right.
So the last thing I want to do is live with somebody who smokes or is in there shooting dope or whatever. And that I wasn't cool with that. So
right.
I was always real particular with my cellies. If I moved into somebody's cell or I was moving somebody in, I want to make sure I knew them and what they were about, and if they weren't going to get me in a wreck because of their debts.
Right. And I tried to explain in a few of my videos, man, about the gang situation. Obviously now, they let the prison gangs are all out of the SHU units back on the main lines and like shot collar guys. Obviously, if some guy's running the yard, he's just shot caller or whatever, thinks he has the keys to the yard. You got guys that are smart, and then if you have one who's a fucking dope fiend, he's just a problem.
Yeah.
It ends up the whole yard gets in a wreck, and usually them guys get removed too. But my thing was, I try to tell people is that whatever you feel about gangs and all that kind of shit, sometimes the policies they put out for guys in prison are kind of necessary. It keeps guys from getting everyone else in a fucking wreck,
Yeah, absolutely.
Because a lot of times, like if white dudes owe money to other races for drugs, they won't just go and have the white guys handle that guy or that guy. They'll just jump on all the whites.
Right.
And I was
I've seen that too many times play out, and that's one of the things I never really liked or agreed with was other races jumping on other races. If there's a problem if a white dude has a debt, he's got to get dealt with.
Right.
Then a white dude ought to deal with it. The white car ought to deal with it, not other races. That's that's just never.
Yeah, there was a couple times, man, when white dudes owe a lot of money, and I heard like hey, they're gonna whack him or something, and it came to me and say, hey, I need some help. I remember we're at Corcoran, Ricky and I went up to this guy's shotgun, and he's like, well, hey, you know, they're going to stab you. And he's like, man, will you guys help me? And we looked at each other, said, yeah, we'll help you. You know, and Ricky had bailed this guy out of debt before. So when we said we'd help him, he kind of got this relieved look on his face. And and I said, hey, I'll help you. I said, I'm going to give you a piece, man, and you can go out to the yard and stab them dudes that you owe money to. Because, and he just went, oh, like, oh God, you know.
That wasn't what that wasn't the kind of help he was expecting, obviously.
Right, right. Yeah, he was
you guys to come
expecting
out
somebody
with canteen and, you know, mail outs or whatever.
Yeah, someone to pay his debt, so then he could just get off scot-free, and I'm not fucking down with that shit, you know.
Yeah. I did that. I did that once at Donovan for a homeboy of mine who got into debt. You know, kept pushing it. You know, and finally, you know, people he owed money to were sick of it and wanted their money, or he was going to dealt with. Right. So we all, you know, he was from Orange County, so you know, I felt all right. I'm gonna help him out with, you know, $10, $15 a canteen, whatever. We all pitched in, got him out of debt. What did he do about a month and a half later? Got right back into debt again.
Same program.
Didn't learn.
Right.
And he ended up, you know, he ended up rolling it up, you know, but
yeah.
They usually do. Yeah, sometimes, you know, that's not the right way to let it, you know, helping them out with canteen. That isn't always the right way to do it, you know, because you don't learn a lesson that way.
Right. I mean, if a guy's walking around with a scar on his body or worse, you know, I mean, it's a lesson that he's never going to forget.
Right.
You know, if you pay his debt and bail him out, it's like, you know, what the fuck are they? They don't learn shit, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So from Lancaster, you went down to Donovan, or?
Yeah. When I was at Lancaster level 4, my points dropped level 3, so I went over to a different yard at Lancaster, the level 3 yard. I was there probably 3 months or so before then they flipped that yard into made it level 4. So they shipped us all out. So my last name starting with a C, I was kind of like in that first bunch of people to get to pick where I get to go.
Yeah.
And Donovan was on that list. So, and I always heard good things about Donovan, you know, you know that. And so, I signed up quicker than I could, you know, sign on the dotted line. So they shipped me there in like April of 2000. Yeah. And it was everything that I had heard and more. It was a great prison to be at. It was cool.
It was still cool at that time. Later on, it got pretty fucked up.
Yeah, later on, like into 2005, 2006, I heard it changed over and kind of went downhill. But like I say, for the 5 or 5.5 years I was there, it was gravy. It was cool.
So when you got there, you got a job, start programming.
Yeah, I got involved in went behind the wall, took a vocational upholstery class, and that was pretty cool. Learned a lot about, you know, sewing and doing car seats and, you know, different, you know, we made gowns for the graduating class of different things going on at Donovan. We had with the hat, with the gown and everything. So we made those, and officers or free staff would bring in their couches or chairs to get reupholstered. So we get, you know, tear them down and refab, you know, reupholster them.
Right.
That was pretty cool. Other than that, got our certificate in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think after that, I got on the plumbing crew over there.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I ended up going down there in 2003.
Yeah.
And I was in Donovan prior to that, going to Corcoran, so it was my second. And I was a plumber when I was there, so when I went back, I was a plumber again.
Yeah.
I got back on the plumbing crew
with Lola, right?
Yeah, I worked with Lola and Gabe and So, what was that like, being able to work as a plumber? I mean, did that give you like freedom, access, kind of stuff? I mean,
yeah, the thing that I'd been a plumber prior to going getting locked up, so I always tried to get on a plumbing. You know, I tried to get on the plumbing crew.
Right.
It was like as soon as I finished my vocational class, and so I talked to the guy who had Lupe was the free staff there for the 1 year. I told him that's what I did prior to, you know, getting locked up. So yeah, he hired me right away.
Yeah, Cool.
So yeah, it was cool because, you know, you get to go to travel, go to different, all the yards you get to go to, stay on your yard, fix things. And,
Right.
so yeah, get out of, get out of your yard and just, go to the reception yard or 3 yard or, 2 yard. So yeah, that was pretty sweet,
And now you get to run in and out of the kitchen every now and then, the central kitchen.
Yeah, the bakery, you get that fresh bread right out of the oven.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they make all the bread for the prisons there. Yeah. It's a big difference getting it hot out of the oven instead of stale, later on.
Yeah, well, and then you got the main kitchen right there too. So we were able to get a bunch of fresh vegetables, fresh hamburger patties, and we in our little shop on the 1 yard, for the plumbers, we had a grill and hot pots, and so we were grilling up some pretty good food back there. So yeah, it was nice, man.
Yeah. Plus you could get food, in your house and.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So traveling around as a plumber, do you feel like some of the staff, like some of the cops and other staff, do you think they looked at you like a little trusting or a little different than other inmates, or they just look like just another guy? Or
yeah, I mean, I think so. When you because the free staff there, the plumbers, they kind of interview you, talk to you, and they can tell if you're a good dude, if they feel like they can trust you, then they're going to bring on your crew. But if they don't feel like you can trust you, if you're about getting into some smuggling things yard to yard or whatever, they're probably not going to bring you on. So I think the free staff on my yard, he liked me, he trusted me, so he brought me on. So. But when you're going in and out of your yard and going to other yards, you're always getting patted down, frisked, and all that stuff. Anyways, and I was really never doing. Well, I wouldn't say never doing anything, but most of the time I wasn't doing bringing anything from yard to yard. But yeah, I was.
Right.
Yeah. I think too that the free staff and the officers that work there, they're a pretty good judge of character.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think they know who they can trust more than other inmates. You know what I mean?
So
I think I was on that side where they could probably trust me a little bit more.
Did you ever get sweated by inmates to move stuff from yard to yard do your job?
Yeah, well, not really sweated. I was asked by one of my Southsider homeboys to do that, go from yard to yard, and I did. Regrettably, looking back, it was stupid because it was I could have got into some serious trouble, but luckily I got away with it, and I did it once or twice, and that was pretty much it. But
so it was more like a favor than it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, hey, you got to do this.
Oh no. I mean, if they're going to ask you to do something like that, bring something from yard to yard, they're going to come at you nice. They're going to come at you, hey, Mike, most likely it's going to be one of your homeboys because, you got that connection right there. So it's hard to say no to a homeboy or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we add, $50 or $75 canteen on top of it. It's hard to say no.
Oh, so they looked out for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's good of them.
Yeah. So I like to eat too,
Yeah. I mean, so people don't really, I don't think they understand that, prison is a community. It's like a little city, When I got out, a friend of mine goes, hey, you went from 5 acres to 50 miles, because I got a 50-mile radius on parole. But within that 5-acre prison setting or whatever it is, it's a little city.
Right.
And there's no escaping that city.
No, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head on that one for sure. Yeah. That's what it is. It's a city within a city, completely self-contained. You don't need to leave there. You have everything there that you need to survive and, to program and to, do what you got to do. And it is. Absolutely.
And there's no escaping it. So if you fuck up, you fuck people over, you're going to be dealt with.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
if you treat people right, you're going to be dealt with accordingly. People are going to treat you right too.
Right. And that was my thing too. Like I said earlier, is you treat people with respect and you treat people how you want them to treat you. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to come back to you the same way you give it.
Right.
That was always my experience. So, and it worked for me. So yeah, that's what I did.
So it's basically the same thing you got to do on the street, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So like when you're working with as a plumber, you got all kinds of different tools, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
every
yeah.
tool under the sun, right?
Yeah,
Every
yeah.
tool they got in Home Depot, they got in there, right?
Right, yeah.
So how do they keep track of all them tools?
The inventory of it at the beginning of when you get there, they're inventoried, and before you leave, you know, your little shop, they're counted and inventoried. So if something's missing, which a lot of times, you know, you go into those plumbing chases to do some work, you put a tool up on the little, you know, that little duct, little shelf on the duct. You remember that?
Right.
You forget it, you close the door and you leave.
Right.
And then at the end of the day, you're like, oh fuck, where's the little crescent wrench or whatever it was?
Yeah.
And you got to remember, well, what chases did I open, what buildings, and you got to go find
Right.
it. And, yeah.
Plus,
the only, go ahead.
you got to inventory all the tools in the tool board too, in the shop, the main tools in the
Yeah.
shop too, you know?
Yep.
I remember one time Lola left I think it was a pipe wrench, in one of the pipe chases. And she's like, man, you know, we got to find that pipe wrench. And it was towards the end of the day, I said, if you bring me a pizza, I'll find that wrench for you. Yeah, it was funny.
But yeah, you got a pizza next day. But hey, I'm glad you brought that up, Mitch, because the only time I've been to the hole was I lost one of my tools.
Really?
So this is how it went down. I was working for Gabe on the 3-yard. I was on the 1 yard, transferred to the 3-yard to work with Gabe.
Right.
I moved to the 3-yard, started working with Gabe. We were in the kitchen over there.
Right.
Doing some work on something, had a couple tools out, and I had to go over to the mop sink and get a bucket full of water and pour it down the drain and make sure it was draining.
Right.
When I did that, one of the kitchen workers it was a 5/16 nut driver I was using.
Right.
Well, that motherfucker, when I left to go get the water, came back. I didn't realize it until about a half hour later, but somebody had taken it, right? So as we're going back to the shop counting tools, I'm counting all my tools, and that 5/16 nut driver came up missing.
Right.
Like, oh fuck. So we went back to the kitchen, looked everywhere, high and low, couldn't find it. And you know, it's you know, the first person you think of, I mean, the staff and the officers, the first thing they think of is, well, it was me. Right. I was using it. I, you know, gave it to somebody to take to the building or whatever, or hide it.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case. Somebody fucking peeled me for it, and me jacked me for it when I wasn't looking.
Right.
You know, that was my bad, because I left my tools open. But yeah, after a big old investigation, you know, that day, me and the dude I was working with, you know, they rolled us up because they couldn't find it. They locked the yard down, searched every cell, the kitchen, everywhere. You know,
put you in a hole for that?
Yeah, I went to the hole for that for about a week.
Yeah.
And then they never found it. And then, but you know, but Gabe being Gabe, you know, he liked me. He and I were cool. But he spoke up to the captain on my yard for me and said, "Hey man, I don't think Mike took it. He believes that." And I told Gabe, man, I didn't take it. When I left, I told him what happened. So it was a kitchen worker. You know, I don't know who, but it was a kitchen worker. So anyway, long story short, yeah, I got a ride up, spent a week in the hole. And then they shipped me back to the 1 yard.
Right.
They didn't want me back on that yard.
Right.
Me and my coworker, you know, he went to the 2 yard, I went to the 1 yard.
Right.
And yeah, so that was the only time my only real, you know, screw up, you know, in when I was.
Well, you know, a nut driver could be ground down into a nice little poker with a handle.
Got a nice plastic handle.
Right.
You know, it's this long. You know, with a handle like this, you got this much of a blade. Yeah, you're gonna hurt somebody.
Yeah, you could bury that in someone's skull. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So.
But I was saying, when I went back to the 1 yard, Lupe hired me back. So.
Yeah.
I didn't really, you know, I just went from plumbing on the 3 yard to the 1 yard. So it was all.
Yeah.
Good.
So.
And Lupe knew too. He knew I didn't do it. You know, he trusted me.
Right.
Anyway.
So, how long you stay in Donovan?
Got there beginning of 2000, left at the end of 2005.
Right.
So
I left in 2006. So.
Yeah, I got one override there because my points dropped to level 2. But at the time I was working PIA maintenance on the 3 yard.
Right.
the last 2 years I was there. So, but my PIA, free staff guy, he got me an override for a year. So I was able to hang out there for an extra year.
Right.
Make some pretty decent money, 70,
Where'd
75.
you go, where'd you go from there?
To the worst prison I'd ever been to in my life. And that was New Corcoran.
Sad F.
Sad F, level 2.
There, it's a shithole there.
It's horrible. Oh,
so
yeah, that was the worst. That was
level 2. You were level 2 there.
It was level 2. Yeah. They had like 2 SAP yards, 2 yards, and a couple of. There was like 7 yards there.
Right. SAP is substance abuse treatment.
Yeah. I was over there for the first 2 or 3 weeks until they transferred me over to a GP, level 2 yard.
Right.
But yeah, that was the worst 3 years of my incarceration for sure. Just a horrible.
What was bad about it? Like,
it's mostly just the officers that work there. It seems like they were all, you have cool cops who treat you fair, who don't look down their nose at you, they treat you with a little bit of respect, But you get those officers who are they just get off on, treating you like shit, talking down to you, just whatever they can do to, make you feel bad or screw up your program or, shut your program down.
Right.
These cops they were just horrible, man. And it's a newer prison. So every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, it's dorm living, right? Every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, lights come on.
Wow.
They stay on all day until like 10 o'clock at night.
So there's no laying around on your rack.
I mean, you can. If you're on the top rack, you're fucked because you got a light 3 feet above your head shining down in your face,
Right.
If you're on the bottom rack, you got a little bit of you got that shield above you. But yeah, it wasn't cool, man.
So you stayed there for a couple of years, or what? You paroled from there, or?
No, I stayed there 3. And, the funny thing is, every year you go up for your annual, and you can put in for a transfer, right? So every year I was there 3 years. Every year, I went to see my counselor. I was programming. I completed like 2 vocational classes while I was there. But every year I put in for a transfer to get out of there.
Yeah.
And every year it got denied until my 3rd one. And it got granted. And that's where I went to. I went to Solano, where I eventually paroled for.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. That was a sweet prison too, right there.
You're in Solano level 2.
Yeah.
All right. So that was how long you stay there before you paroled?
I was there 3 years. Yeah. I did 6 years at total level 2 time, 3 years at New Corcoran, and 3 years at Solano.
So when did you parole?
I paroled in September of 2011.
Right. So you got out right when they just started letting guys with life terms out.
Yeah. At Solano, lifers were paroling out of there like, man, it seemed like 1 or 2 a day on my yard.
You got there though, guys weren't paroling.
No, they were getting dates, but they were getting yanked.
Yeah.
The governor was taking them,
Right.
And then the last probably year and a half, things changed.
Yeah.
And people who were getting dates were keeping them.
Right.
And they were gone. I mean,
there were a lot of guys on that yard that had the life term.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was like a life or graveyard, they called it.
Yeah.
That and Soledad.
We called it a lifer retirement center because, the yard, it seemed like half of the population was lifers.
Right. Guys that were 10, 20 years overdue to get out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. People are programming, getting there after doing 10, 15 years or whatever, and finally make it down to level 2.
Yeah.
Programmed for all that time. And now they're there and they're just, doing what they got to do to get out,
Right. Or just to live and be comfortable.
Right. Because, and again, that yard was really mellow. I mean, there was a few stabbings here and there in the 3 years I was there, but not a whole lot. Little fist fights here and there.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it was a programming level 2 yard.
They had guys hobbying, stuff like that.
A ton of hobby, a ton of vocational classes.
Yeah.
It was you could have all the hobby. Back in the day when you had hobby, that was like the one place that they still had hobby. Of all most of the prisons in California, that place still had a legitimate hobby program.
Yeah, yeah.
So, guys that were, been down 15, 20, 25, doing their program, and at night, they're just hobbying, whatever it be,
Right.
whatever it may be, painting.
Yeah, leather, all that stuff. Yeah.
Knitting, knitting was big there.
Yeah.
Leather work, painting. Yeah,
Right.
it was all good there.
So what'd you do when you were there?
Let's see, what did I do there?
Just curious.
I got in the the last year I was there, I was working in a year and a half, I was working in the kitchen, main kitchen. But before that I got on the plumbing crew again before getting in the kitchen, but I think I was just doing vocational classes and, self-help and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I eventually just said, I figured, by that time I had a grip of self-help, plenty of vocational trades.
I heard the food there was suck.
It was all right.
Yeah.
It was decent.
Yeah.
But no, like I said, I already accumulated a grip of self-help and all the AAs and NAs and stuff.
So did you go to your first board there?
No, I did it at New Corcoran.
All right.
2006.
All right. So how many times did you go in front of the parole board before you got your release date?
5 times. I went to parole 5 times in 5 years. See, the thing about my case is, because I don't have a murder, it was attempted murder.
Right.
The most I can get denied was 2 years.
Right.
I can get found suitable, get a 1 year or a 2 year.
Right.
So when I went to my initial, I had this guy, this commissioner. His name, I'll never forget him. Big old black dude named Biggers. He had just maybe about 2 weeks prior, he had sat on Charlie Manson's parole hearing. I'd seen it on the news and all that. It was on the news and all that stuff. And so I seen him, and then all right, that's cool. And I knew my board was coming up, so I walk in the parole board with my attorney, and there he is. Like, whoa! I just seen this dude on TV, so I didn't know what to expect. But yeah, he was actually really, really cool, man. He
Biggers.
Yeah, his name was Biggers.
Was he a big guy?
He was a big old corn-fed black dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was big. His name fit.
So were you nervous going in there or what?
Well, a little bit, but here's the thing. I'm fortunate in the fact that my family was able to buy me hire a private attorney. I won't say his name, but he was one of the best in California at parole hearings. That's all he does.
Right.
Cost my mom and dad, a lot of money, but well worth it.
Say his name if you want. I don't mind, but
His name is Steve DeFilippis. He's out of San Jose.
Okay.
An outstanding attorney.
Mm-hmm.
But so my family had hired him, so I had him, 6 months before my initial. So he came and see me, 4 or 5 times before. So he was kind of prepping me, getting me ready for, asking me questions, saying, hey, these are the questions they're going to ask you. How are you going to answer it? So I was able to, to go through it and kind of be prepared for it a little bit, which really helped out. But again, at your initial, you're going to be nervous no matter what, but that definitely did help, calm it down a little bit.
Yeah. So you got found suitable? No,
got a 1 year denial on my initial.
No, I mean, Solano, you got found suitable.
Yeah. After going my fifth time up to bat, I got found suitable. Yeah.
So did you have a private attorney then?
Yeah. All 5 hearings, I had the same guy.
Okay.
Yeah. At my initial, I got 1 year denial. Went back in a year, got another 1 year denial. At that time, we filed a writ. It got granted at the first level of the state court. So I went back about a year later. And then at that time, that's when Marsy's law kicked in. So,
yeah.
Now the minimum I can get is a 3 year.
Right.
So I went back on that writ and still got denied, but then they gave me a 3 year. So my attorney filed a petition, a writ on that hearing, went back, it got granted at the first level of state court, went back a year later, got denied, and then filed another writ, and then again, same thing, went back a year later, and at that one I got found suitable.
Yeah, people don't know about Marsy's law, the board thing. That's a Used to be like the most I could get was a 2-year denial also. But then it went to minimum I could get was 3, then 5, 7, 10 and 15-year denials. So
Yeah.
So you're out.
Love and
You're out,
life.
man. And you know, you're married, you got family, working, riding dirt bikes.
Yeah. Went riding today.
Watching Colin McGregor fight.
this Saturday. Him and Cowboy getting them up.
Well, you know, what's, you know, just in closing, Mike, you know, I just want to thank you for coming on the channel. But I want to ask you, you know, like, if you could say anything to anybody watching this channel, any of these youngsters or any of these guys who got a preconceived notion about prison and what a bunch of scumbags we are and all that, whatever, you know, just anything you'd like to say, you know, just get with it.
Yeah, you know, you go to prison and you can either use that time to correct the flaws that you have within you, or you can get involved with the things that are that contribute to you to getting to prison. The negative things, the drugs, the alcohol, you know, the negative thinking that goes on in our heads. You know, there's a reason why people go to prison. You know, it's not, you know, it's some thinking, some thinking that goes on up here that's not right. So we need to, you know, correct that. You know, that's what I did. My 16 years, I used that time to better myself, educate myself, you know, find out who I am and what I'm about, and correct those things, correct those character defects that I had within me. You know, and they were with me since I was a child. That's where they start. Most things start when you're, you know, a preteen, and they develop as you get a teenager and an adult, and they just manifest themselves, you know. And so that's what I did. And my suggestion is to people that are going, you know, especially youngsters going to prison, man, take advantage of the self-help and realize that you're there for a reason. That you made some bad decisions. You know, something came into your life, you made a bad decision, and you acted on it. But it's not too late, man. It's not too late to correct those character defects and use that time in prison wisely. You know, stay away from the negative things, because a lot of people think that it's all negative in prison, but that's not the case, man. It's really not. And there's a lot of bad things that go on, but there's also a lot of good things that go on.
Right.
And the CDCR, they offer, you know, AA, NA, a ton of self-help, you know, vocational classes. If you go in there, you go to prison at 20, 21 years old, not knowing a trade, not knowing what you're going to do, most likely you're going to find a prison that is going to educate you and teach you on how to be a plumber, electrician, you know, AC, or whatever, drywall, whatever.
Right.
But take advantage of those things and surround yourself with people who are like-minded, who want to better themselves. Because that old saying, iron sharpens iron. If you hang out with people who are doing what you want to do, you're going to follow in their footsteps. But if you know, that old saying too, if you run with dogs, you're going to get fleas.
Right.
It's really about decisions and choices that you have to make when you're locked up.
Yeah.
Well, that's what comes down to it. Who do you want to be? You want to spend 30 years in your life in prison, or do you want to, you know, use that time wisely and better yourself and get out and never go back?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I would say. Just you know, surround yourself with good people, man. And
I've seen guys go in there with 2-3 year terms and end up with life sentences. So I actually see guys end up going to death row while they were in prison, and they had chicken shit terms to begin with.
Right.
So
right.
Go either way. You know, you can ruin yourself or make yourself. You know.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Mike, for coming on here and speaking with me. You know.
Yeah, hey, it was my pleasure, Mitch.
Value your perspective, and I hope these people out here that watch our channel do.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself, brother.
I will, brother. Hey, thanks for having me on, Mitch. And anytime you need me to talk, hey, just give me a shout out.
Yeah, thanks a lot, brother.
All right, brother. Talk to you later.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
You got it.
Hey,